Welcome to the debate. Today, we're digging into a really critical and I think often underestimated role within the beauty and barbering industry, the school director. Specifically, the level of commitment involved.
Right. And our discussion stems from this insightful piece by Roderick Samuels, The Enduring Commitment of a School Director, which really paints a picture of responsibilities that go way beyond just, shuffling papers.
Exactly. So the question we're tackling is this. Is the school director's job primarily about administration and compliance, keeping things running, or is its real core value, its effectiveness, actually rooted much deeper in mentorship, in personal development, and frankly, in shaping the future of the industry?
And that's where we diverge slightly. I'll be arguing that while mentorship is obviously important, it's that solid foundation of administration and compliance that makes everything else possible.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be taking the position that the director is fundamentally a mentor and a leader, someone whose primary role is driving that student transformation, with the admin serving that higher purpose.
Okay, so let me lay out my perspective first. Look, I completely get the idea that being a school director feels like a calling. It is demanding. But my argument is that for the school to be effective, for it to last, you absolutely need that rigorous, consistent administrative framework. And you need strict adherence to compliance.
Mm-hmm.
The article itself even says, on paper, it may look administrative, scheduling exams, tracking completion rates, ensuring compliance. And I'd argue these aren't just check-the-box tasks. They are the absolute pillars. Think about scheduling state board exams. That's a perfect example. It seems simple, but it has to be done correctly on time. If not, students can't even get licensed, no matter how good their skills are.
Sure, that's a necessary step.
Exactly. And raising completion rates, that doesn't just happen because of pep talks. It starts with careful data tracking, figuring out why students might be struggling, and then intervening based on that data. Same goes for instilling accountability and professionalism. That needs clear rules, clear expectations, and yes, administrative enforcement. The rewards mentioned, like improved licensure rates and strong program outcomes, those are administrative metrics fundamentally. They prove the school is actually working, that it has integrity. Without focusing on all that behind-the-scenes stuff, compliance, structure, the nitty-gritty, and the mentorship, however well-intentioned, just doesn't have the solid ground it needs to actually work effectively.
Okay, I understand that perspective, emphasizing the bedrock, the structure. But let me shift the focus a bit, because I think prioritizing the human element gives a different and perhaps more accurate picture. My position is that the director's role, as Samuels really captures it, is fundamentally a calling that includes admin, yes, but it truly transcends it. The real essence, the core of it, is that deep personal commitment to mentorship. It's about building student confidence, shaping individuals so they don't just get a job, but they actually elevate the entire industry.
Mm-hmm.
The material points to this directly when it talks about a full-time commitment that stretches into every hour of the day. That's not just about paperwork, that's about being present. It's the late-night text from a future professional struggling with self-doubt. It's crafting that Instagram post crafted to motivate, which, as the article says, is mentorship in the digital age. This tells me that building student confidence to pass those exams and the sheer persistence in helping students push through personal barriers, that's much more central and honestly, much harder work than just scheduling or tracking numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right.
The real job, the core task, is convincing students to believe not only in the value of their education, but in themselves. That takes, as the piece says, a delicate blend of leadership and mentorship. It's about fostering compassion, creating professionals who are not just skilled, but confident, and who will ultimately, yes, elevate the industry. In this view, the admin structure is crucial, but it serves that deeper, human-focused work. It enables it, but it doesn't define it.
That's well put. And I definitely don't want to downplay the huge personal investment. But let's dig into that full-time reality a bit more. You highlight the emotional side, the relational work, the late-night text, the difficult conversation. I absolutely acknowledge that. It's significant, it's often draining. But here's my question. What actually allows a director to make that kind of investment effectively? What stops it from just being constant crisis management? Okay.
I really believe it's that underlying administrative engine running smoothly. It's the meticulous compliance with state regs, accurate student records, reliable scheduling. That strong foundation, that operational integrity is what actually frees up the director's time and energy to engage on that deeper, personal level when needed. Without that solid structure, maybe that late-night text isn't, a heroic act of mentorship. Maybe it's actually a symptom of a system breaking down somewhere, leaving students feeling lost or unsupported in more basic ways. It becomes firefighting, not guidance. I see the concern about firefighting versus proactive guidance, but I'm not sure I agree that the admin machinery is the sole enabler of that connection. It feels a bit like saying structure must come before connection, but often isn't it the personal connection that actually makes the structure meaningful and effective for the student? The article really emphasizes that full-time commitment is mostly about that relational, emotional labor. It talks about showing up, even when it means answering that late-night message or having a tough conversation. That's presented as defining the role. Yes, scheduling the state board exam is essential. It's the gateway test, absolutely. But the bigger piece, the more complex, and ultimately the more transformative work is building student confidence to pass those exams. You can't schedule confidence on a calendar. That's a deeply human thing. The article seems to frame these personal moments, the empathy, the belief building, not as some side effect of good admin, but as the core work itself. A perfectly organized system might fail if students don't feel seen, if they don't feel someone believes in them personally. That feeling motivates them to engage with the structure.
Okay, I understand the point about motivation, but I still find it difficult to accept that personal connection is the primary driver for student buy-in and ultimately success. Let me try to explain why. Students don't just buy into a personality, however great. They buy into a program that looks, feels, and is well organized, that's transparent, and crucially that demonstratively leads to real results like those improved licensure rates and strong program outcomes.
Right, the outcomes matter.
Exactly. And when I talk about auditable outcomes, I mean things you can actually verify, things that stand up to scrutiny from regulators or accrediting bodies. These are fundamentally administrative successes. They build the school's credibility, and that credibility creates a stable, trustworthy environment where, yes, mentorship can then be truly effective. Think about it. If the school doesn't have a clear path to licensure, if its outcomes aren't strong, how much can a late-night text truly reassure a doubting student? The school's operational integrity, the proof that it works, provides the tangible promise of a career. That's what allows students to invest their belief. Without that proof, motivation might just fizzle out when they hit a snag in a poorly run system.
That's a fair point about credibility, but I might just frame the relationship differently. Structure and outcomes are definitely part of the picture. They build confidence. But the material is quite clear. That belief doesn't come automatically. It's earned through consistency, transparency, and showing up. And I don't think showing up just means having the paperwork in order. It means showing up personally, consistently, with empathy. The director acts as motivators, coaches, and at times a steady hand guiding students through life's challenges. That sounds like a deeply relational process where the human touch is, paramount for getting that real buy-in, which then fuels success. It's the belief the director instills in the student that translates into the discipline and resilience they need to navigate the system and achieve those outcomes. Like imagine a student struggling with, say, the detailed work of a perm. Perfect scheduling won't help nearly as much as a director patiently showing them again, encouraging them not to give up. The best system fails if the student gives up on themselves. That belief, as the text says, is earned through that personal engagement. It creates a positive feedback loop.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly to the industry impact, this idea of elevation. You're linking elevation directly to the personal growth and professionalism fostered through mentorship. An individual passion is, of course, vital, but I have to argue that an industry is elevated not just by passionate individuals, but perhaps more fundamentally by schools consistently graduating people who meet or hopefully exceed regulatory standards. They need valid licenses, they need to come from programs with solid, verifiable outcomes. It's the unseen work, the relentless focus on Compliance, which covers everything from salon safety to curriculum standards to instructor qualifications, and that careful licensure tracking that actually ensures a high, consistent standard across the whole industry. This administrative rigor builds public trust and prevents standards from slipping. That consistency, that reliability driven by administrative discipline, is a foundational form of industry elevation in itself. How can the industry innovate or reach new heights if the basic level of competence and legitimacy isn't rock solid because of administrative failures?
I understand the need for a solid floor, absolutely. But I think real elevation, genuine progress for the industry comes from pushing beyond those minimum standards, not just meeting them reliably. The article talks about shaping discipline, resilience, and pride. That comes from the personal journey, from the empathetic leadership. It's about creating professionals who don't just hold a license, but who embody the values of the craft, who are always learning, maybe even becoming entrepreneurs.
Okay.
That goes way beyond just ticking compliance boxes. It's about instilling a purpose, a commitment that pushes the industry forward. When the article mentions a graduate who just opened their own shop or salon, that's not just a data point. That's a sign of the confidence, the problem-solving ability, the drive that was nurtured through mentorship. That kind of initiative, that pursuit of excellence, that's what truly elevates an industry, creating new trends, better service, a more vibrant professional community. Compliance ensures the baseline, sure, but it's mentorship that really helps build the future, helps reach for the ceiling.
I'm sorry, but that feels a little idealistic, maybe, without fully acknowledging the scaffolding that holds it all up. Yes, those individual success stories are fantastic, truly. But the foundation for that spirit to even exist, let alone thrive, the foundation for the whole industry to reach a higher standard, is built on regulations and educational standards that guarantee competence, safety, legitimacy. The administrative backbone ensuring the curriculum is right, the facility is safe, the licenses are processed correctly. That's what prevents the whole structure from collapsing. Mentorship, no matter how amazing, can't fix a lack of fundamental integrity. The industry's reputation rests on the collective adherence to these standards, standards that are administered, tracked, and enforced daily. That's the crucial, if often unseen, contribution to real, lasting elevation. It ensures public trust.
My only pushback there is that it seems to prioritize the outcome over the catalyst. The article frames those improved licensure rates and strong program outcomes as the rewards for the director's deep commitment, not the definition of it. It talks about the role as an ongoing responsibility. It's not a job you can clock out of. That continuous personal engagement, fostering compassion, believing in potential, that's what inspires students to actually achieve those outcomes in the first place. Without that spark, that belief in themselves, the best-run admin system just becomes a set of hoops to jump through, not a path forward.